Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Get by Taco Casa. Get those hard tacos, soft tacos, beef, chicken, whatever you need. Get by there today and tell them that Wimp and Barry sent you. All right, get to the Taco Casa hotline and bring in a good friend, Jay Deas. Good morning, Jay. How are you?
Doing good. Your former next door neighbor is doing good.
Morning, Jay.
Jay,
hey, how's it going, Coach?
Okay.
Coach,
you know,
Coach and Coach.
Jay would be over there shooting, and Dad would walk out of the house, and Jay would run home. He'd be scared he was going to get in trouble for shooting over at the house.
That's exactly right.
Oh, corn pony.
That is true.
That is exactly true. Because the thing about it would be about 5:30 or 6 a.m.
Yeah.
when we would do that.
Yeah. He never would build us a fence, though, to keep that ball from rolling down the hill. If we had a fence, Jay, we wouldn't have to run down in the woods so much. So,
well, I tell you what, they called it Woodland Hills for a reason.
No doubt.
And going down enough, I think that made us some pretty good athletes because we were running hills before anybody was really hill running.
All right, Jay, tell us what's going on with boxing. Deontay Wilder, I know he's got a match before Fury. I hear him talking about Fury. Now, Jay, that's making me nervous. Let's don't overlook him. I know you're not going to overlook Ortiz, but tell us what's going on with you guys right now.
Well, we've got what we think. Right now, they're still sorting out details. Things could change, but I think it's going to be November 23rd in Las Vegas, possibly either on Showtime pay-per-view or Fox pay-per-view. And I think the MGM Grand is one of those that's in contention. So back to Vegas. Hadn't been to Vegas since Deontay won the title from Stavern. And haven't been back since. So looking forward to hope it comes through and we get Vegas November 23rd against Luis Ortiz, which was arguably Deontay's toughest fight.
So that's not in. I thought I saw where it was in the Staples Center. So that's not accurate. Then is that correct?
No, it's still being talked about. But I'm what I'm hearing is that Vegas is in the lead, but they're to the point now where they're going to have to pull the trigger on something here in the next 48 hours, and we'll have it all sorted out.
Okay, that.
Tell our listeners your training session now, what you're doing with him, and why you do what you do.
Well, what we're doing now is just what we call a maintenance program, which Deontay is such an active person anyway. He's always in shape. And so, it's just a matter of just not getting stale and not getting just in a situation where you're not doing a lot. Deontay's always got something going on. So whether it's basketball or whether it's in the gym or whether it's swimming, which he loves water sports, he's always doing something. So we're just encouraging that.
But Jay, excuse me, buddy, are you afraid for him to be too active? For example, you can get your family hurt in basketball. Are you afraid for him to be too active?
No, I think
again. Is he not better off active in sports where he doesn't, sports that he does by himself rather than compete against somebody?
Probably that would be ideal, but I think he's such a people person and he loves to compete, and he's never, knocking on wood, he's never been injured in anything other than boxing where he's broken his hand and that type thing. So we're going to kind of keep what works. He does a lot of the European boxers have gone to soccer as their, the old thing where you used to just jog for 3 miles or 4 miles at a steady pace, has kind of, evolutionized. Now it's more what you call task specific, which is doing things that mimic what you're going to do. And in boxing, there's times when you're going fast, times when you're going slow. So basketball mimics that, soccer mimics that. If you're going to jog now, the way we do it is you'll jog at a slow pace for about 30 seconds, and then you'll sprint for about 15 seconds, and then jog for 30 seconds and sprint, and you'll do that for 3 miles. And that's kind of the way it's done now. So basketball doesn't bother me that much. He seems to be injury-free doing it, so that's what we hope keeps going.
Yeah, knock on wood. Tell me about this Tyson Fury fight that he just had. I know he had a really bad cut on his eye. Deontay's even come out and said the referee should have stopped the fight. He said, but let's be honest, they didn't. because they want him undefeated and they want me undefeated when we face in February. Is that in the back of the mind of the referee, Jay? Does that factor in this guy saying, you know what, I'm going to make this guy get beat for real. I'm not going to stop a fight over a cut, and then because that could run a fight on down the line. What's the thinking there?
I mean, you hope they just go case for case. Tyson Fury fought a guy named Otto Wallin, who nobody thought much of, but we knew him, so we knew he was a quality fighter. But Otto gave him a tough fight. I think what happened was, if you really dissect it, there was a cut, and it got worse, but then there became a second cut. So it was actually two cuts on the same eye. But by the time that happened, and that was certainly worthy of stopping a fight, no question, because I think he wound up getting almost 50 stitches. That's a lot of stitches. They say that 8 to 12 stitches is what you call a fight ender. If a cut's bad enough to have 8 to 12 stitches, it's probably bad enough to stop the fight. And this one had 50 or 47 or whatever it was. But actually what it was two cuts. And by the time it got to that point where half his face was covered in blood, we were in probably, I think, the 9th or 10th round. And I think at that point, the referee was like, I'm not going to be the one to stop this fight. If he's still competing, he's not getting hit with shots, he can't see, and we've only got a couple of rounds left, I'm just going to let it play out.
Yeah, but that would, if Deontay or Fury loses before they get back in the ring, I mean, that would cost both those guys a bunch of money, wouldn't it, Jay?
Absolutely. The rematch will be huge. It's an enormous fight, a massive pay-per-view fight, the biggest fight in boxing, especially how their first fight went. I mean, it's going to be must-see TV, but we certainly have the tougher task of the two. I mean, Otto Wallin is a good fighter, but Luis Ortiz is a great fighter, and he proved that against Deontay the first time. It's the only fight Ortiz has ever lost as a professional, and we have to be ready. I mean, anybody that's looking past this fight is making a big mistake. We're certainly not looking past it. Deontay does what he calls window shops, where he'll look around somebody and talk about the future. I zeroed just in on the actual fight right in front of us. That's just how I'm geared.
Sure.
But Deontay is solely focused on Ortiz, no matter what he may say, because he gets asked questions just like I do about Fury, and we answer those questions. But it's Ortiz that we've got to get through. Yeah,
it'd be like Coach Saban talking about LSU right now. He's got 3 games before he gets to LSU, so you got to take care of what you got right in front of you, Dad.
I guess my question would be, what is a major difference in the next two fighters? What's the difference? There's a difference. What is it?
Well, the great thing is
their abilities. I'm sorry.
Right. The great thing is we fought them both before, so I think Deontay is pretty devastating in rematches, as he proved against Tavern. He puts all these things in the memory bank, and his IQ is so high that he will make the adjustments, and I think we will make the adjustments. Of course, the guys we're fighting, they're making adjustments based on the first fight as well. But Ortiz is a crafty, extensive amateur career Cuban left-hander, and he's just tricky, and he does what in boxing they call, he sets traps for you. He'll do something 7-8 times in a row over the course of 5 or 6 rounds, and he's only doing it to get you to finally react a certain way where he can land a much bigger punch. He's putting that cheese in the trap and hoping that the mousetrap gets you. Tyson Fury is right-handed but can fight left-handed, 6'9", amazingly agile, and just really herky-jerky, difficult to pin down, difficult to figure out what he's doing, because he doesn't know what he's doing. So sometimes you wonder how you're going to know what he's doing. So they're two entirely different type fighters. I wish one would help us with the other, but unfortunately they don't.
Jay, I've heard you say before you guys train. You can't see out of his right eye, so you train for that. You train, his left hand's broken and he can't use it. Do you guys cover every scenario during camp, right? Because you never know what will happen when you walk into that ring.
That's exactly right, Barry. We it's kind of the best way to tell people because they know football around here is, we practice the onside kick, and in boxing, for some reason, when you tell people that you practice for things like that, they look at you like you're crazy. And I've never understood that, because you can get cut. You can break a hand. You can have vision problems, and you can get hurt, and you have to practice for what do you do when that happens. Because if you don't, you don't know, you don't have any reference point for what to do. A good friend of ours who was a great fighter was Jerry Cooney, and Jerry will tell you himself he never learned how to hold. So when he did get hurt, he had no concept of how to get through those moments, because nobody ever taught him how to latch on to somebody and for dear life and not let them hit you. And so these are things we practice because they do come into play. Deontay's had incidents where he's had an eye injury and a hand injury in the same fight. Fortunately, we do practice those things.
Jay, tell us about some of your other guys. I know you guys got more than Deontay. Obviously, Deontay gets all the press, but you got some other guys coming up through the ranks. Tell us about some of your other guys who could eventually maybe get into a championship fight.
Yeah, we're working with a lot of fighters. There are a lot of young fighters. Andre Harris won his professional debut. He's a very exciting fighter, kind of like an all-action type fighter. He's just beginning. Then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got still working with Robert Alfonso, the Cuban, who is Deontay's main sparring partner. And he looks like he's going to be on Deontay's undercard, and I think he's going to be in his biggest fight. They're going through opponents right now, but they're going to. I think he's going to fight somebody in the top 10 in the world, and he will go into that fight as a big underdog. But we're excited about that opportunity because the people that make the odds, they're not the ones in the ring, so they don't really matter. As far as telling us what we can and can't do. So I think it's going to be a huge fight for Robert Alfonso on Deontay's undercard.
Yeah. Dad, anything else for Jay before we let him go?
I can't think of anything. The only thing I'd ask you if things go normal through his fighting career, is there an age that is best for a guy to stop fighting? That doesn't make any sense, but it'd be interesting to me. Is there somewhere along the line? And I know it varies for different people, but is there kind of an age where this stuff needs to be over?
There is. It's different for everybody because of their fighting style and how much punishment they've taken. There's some guys that may have 10 fights and that's enough. Others don't take the punishment. Typically, heavyweight, they mature later. So Deontay is about to be 34. If he were a 106-pound fighter, like a strawweight, he would be an ancient fighter. If he were a middleweight at 160, he would be toward the end but still have a good couple of years left. As a heavyweight, he's really just in the center of his prime. Heavyweights tend to mature between 32 and 36 years of age as their prime. And only if you have a style like Joe Frazier or Mike Tyson is your prime a lot earlier, and that's because you have to engage and be the one pressing the action to be successful. So guys like Tyson and Frazier, they're typically better in their 20s, not their 30s. So we're thinking, as far as Deontay is concerned, I would like Deontay to unify these titles and defend them a few times, and then get out, wealthy and healthy, and move on to some great things outside the ring.
Well, Jay, as always, buddy, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you as he gets closer to the Ortiz fight.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's Jay Deas. Does an outstanding